Welcome back to our daily Bible study. Once again, I am Matthew Gage, pastor at Faith Baptist Church here in Decatur, Texas. And today we'll be in Genesis chapter number 23. Genesis chapter number 23. And in this chapter, the major story is that Abraham's wife Sarah will pass away. And then we'll also see the transaction made for a burying ground for Abraham and his family. And we'll get down here and we'll look at that as that story goes on. So let's jump right on in to Genesis chapter number 23, verse number 1. And Sarah was 127 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjath Arba, the same as Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. A couple different notes here on these first little couple sentences here. One is, note Sarah's age. She is 127, so this is 37 years after Isaac's birth. So Isaac is a full-grown man by this time. I want to point out something I read as I was doing a real quick study on this. I was reading A.C. Gabelline's book, Gabelline's concise commentary on the whole Bible, and I just was reading over his little notes in there, and he pointed out something I never really noticed. Said that this is the only woman in the Bible whose age is mentioned, and I haven't read through the entire Bible looking for that specific fact. But I would take his word for it. And if that is true, and as far as I can think of off the top of my head, I think it is true. That's an amazing deal. We always joke about, not asking women their age or women not telling their age. Well, the one woman whose age is possibly here given in the Bible is one whose age really was a central part of her story, in that she had a child so far past childbearing age. Excuse me. So, I'll point out too, I think it's interesting to note that says that Abraham came to mourn. So I'm curious of the language of that. That's kind of struck my attention. I wonder if that means that, he was there and began to mourn, or maybe he was away and then came back. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm going to have to do some more study on that myself. Verse number 3. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. So Abraham goes to the local inhabitants there and says, look, I need a place, burying ground, if you will. I want a place to bury my dead. And the inhabitants there say, well, not a problem. Pick the best one. You can have whichever one. We're not going to stop you. But as Abraham goes on here, it's clear that he wanted a place kind of for him and for his family. Verse 7. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat for me to Ephraim, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpela, hope I'm saying that right, which he hath, which is in the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place among you. So Abraham says, okay, well, if any place, if I can have my pick, I really like this cave, this little piece of ground over here, and here's the man that owns it. This is the one I want, but I'm not going to accept it as a gift. No, I'm going to pay full price for it. I don't want anybody to, think I'm taking advantage of you folks. I don't want to owe you anything, a favor or something. He said, I want to buy this piece of land for you. So verse number 10. And Ephraim dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephraim the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, now, I'll point out there it talks about the gate of the city. This is something I did study on. I think I mentioned before with Lot, but that's a place of commercial transaction and legal transactions and things. So this is a very legal type transaction going on here. This is a very public statement. Here in Texas, there's still some things, proclamations and I think even like some real estate auction things, have to be announced at the courthouse or on the courthouse steps and things like that. Well, I think that's kind of what the same thing is. This had to be done in the gate to make it official. Verse 11, Ephron's, what his response to Abraham. Nay, my Lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people give I it thee. Bury thy dead. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land. Now, I want to point out here before I go on, note here the kindness that they're showing him. They really have a great respect for Abraham, and they're saying, look, whatever you want. You want to use one of our tombs? That's perfect. You can have whatever you want. You want a piece of land? You can have whatever you want. They have a lot of respect towards Abraham, and I think that's probably earned on Abraham's response. I don't think they're acting out of fear or dread. I think that he has been very good to them as he has been there, that as he's prospered, the people around him has prospered. And I think you can see that in his business transactions here, that he has just been very upright and very generous and fair in his dealings. Verse number 13, Abraham responds to Ephron. And he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it off me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. So once again, here, Ephron said, you can have it. Abraham says, no, I'm going to pay for it. So Ephron says, okay, well, listen, if I were to put it up, on the market today, it said, 400 shekels is what it's worth. And he says, what is that betwixt me? He's like, that's not a big deal. You can have it. I'm not worried about the money. Verse 16, and Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money, with the merchant. Now, I want to pause right here and talk about this real quick. This is just one of my little things. I got into studying and collecting some ancient coins here a few years ago, and have read a little bit and studied some of this on the ancient currency and things. This isn't coins like we have today or cash like we have today. It's a very barter-based economy. Now, precious metals were valuable, but it wasn't like, here's a coin, this is worth $1. This is worth a shekel, or even this is a shekel's weight. Shekel is a weight. This is a shekel weight. Look at the little signet. It says 1 shekel on it. That's not there. Basically, what he's doing is trading a commodity, silver, for the land. And how do we know how much silver there is? Well, it's not by pieces of silver. It's not by, the number or the face value or whatever. There's no face value. That type of coinage isn't going to be around for centuries at this point. You're talking, 5th, 6th century BC till that gets very widespread. So what is he doing here? He's having to weigh silver out, little pieces of silver. Ingots is usually what they described as. So I don't know if they're bars or jewelry or whatever it is, or just little pieces. But taking these little pieces of silver and, I imagine in your mind the scale. They've got a weight. They'll have a little rock weight they'll put on one side, and those will be created and whittled down and stuff and made the right size. They would measure those things out. By the way, I've dug those things up, those little weights. It's kind of interesting too. It's a little side study when you get into this. But when it talks about he weighed out the coins, that's what it was. He didn't just pull out his billfold. I got my billfold right here. He didn't just pull out and say, oh, you want 400 shekels? Okay, here you go. No, we had to go and, find a merchant and have the scales brought out, and we're going to weigh out and put 400 shekels worth of silver out there and weigh it out and make sure that is properly there. And of course, I think they'd probably also do some, quick tests to make sure that, how pure is it, I don't know if they cut into anything or not, but I'm sure they did some tests, kind of things like that, just to verify he wasn't putting rocks or something up there. But that's an interesting thing because, like I say, in this point in ancient history, coins as we know it, money as we know it, does not exist. He's trading a common trade good, silver, which is why silver, eventually become coinage, and gold, these precious metals. But he's basically trading precious metals for the land, but it's by weight of the by weight for the silver. So, all right, verse 17. In the field of Ephraim, which was in Machpela, which was before Mamre, the field, in the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, they were in all the borders round about, were made sure. So it's almost like here, I kind of picture him having a surveyor here. But anyway, the transaction's made sure at this point. They recorded it however they would do that at this point, or put up markers. I don't know exactly what they would have done in this culture to do this. But basically, okay, now this land is Abraham's. I mean, this is like getting the title deeds and stuff done when purchasing land nowadays. That's what Abraham has done there. Let's see. Well, actually, I kind of skipped mid-verse. It says, were made sure, verse 18, unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth before all that went in at the gate of the city. Once again, it's a very public transaction done in the gate of the city so everybody could see. Verse 19, and after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of Machpela before Mamre. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. If you want to get a map and look at that, find the Dead Sea, go pretty much due west from the middle of the Dead Sea, and about halfway to the Mediterranean Sea, you'll find that if you want to look that up on a map. Verse 20, and the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of the burying place by the sons of Heth. And this isn't the only time we're gonna visit this place. We're going to come back there. There's going to be others who are going to be buried there. Abraham, more of the family. We'll talk about when we get there. And also point out that you can visit this site today. It's Muslim controlled from what I understand, but there is the spot that is traditionally said to be this. And, it's kind of a little tourist attraction kind of thing from what I understand. I haven't been to the Holy Land or this section. It's in the West Bank section. But anyway, that's from what I understand, and especially older writers, people that pre-state of Israel that traveled and things, you'll hear them talking about stopping there and seeing it. So, but anyway, you can look up pictures. I've looked up pictures of it before too. So, this is a place where tradition says this is the place, and no, there's probably no good reason to doubt that particular tradition. So, anyway, there we go. We finished chapter number 23 of Genesis. We have the passing of Sarah, the purpose of a burying ground, purchase of a burying ground for Abraham and his family. And point out this as a side note on that. Why was that so important? Well, being buried was important to them. I think a part of that, there's a hope for a resurrection, taking care of the body. They didn't burn the body, but kind of protect it, buried it away. So there's a hope of resurrection, but also a hope in the promised land. They make sure that buried in the promised land, which I think you'll see again with at the close of the book of Genesis with the bones of Joseph. That he had made provision for the same thing, to be buried in the promised land. So anyway, there we go. Genesis chapter number 23. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's been a help and a blessing to you.